yeah,
What's
that's
up,
everything.
guys? I'm going to show you how you can make a customizable party system in Roblox Studio. I will just quickly do a showcase of it so you can see what it looks like. Now, this is in a Roblox Studio test, so I've got a couple more players. So you can open it up by clicking it. Obviously, don't look at the UI. This is mainly for the scripts. You can change the UI however you'd like, but you open this up and you can create the party. And the UI overlaps, as I said. Make your own UI, make it look nice with the code and stuff like that. All works great. So everyone else can open this up as well. And here we have the player who created it, because it's I just created one and it's just me in a party. That's player 2, and you can type out player. It auto fills, so if you just type PL, it would fill out for whoever has PL. This has player 1 and player 3, so it will just randomly pick one. But there we go, pick player 1. It says that you got invited. You can accept it. You see you're both in the party now. And for example, if the player who got invited leaves, it only takes them out, and it actually leaves you in the party still if you're the one that created it. But let's invite them again. But if the player who created the party leaves, it takes both the people out. You see? Now I'll quickly just make it again, and you can have a. Oh wait, he's still. Okay. Player 1, there we go. There's a cooldown. Accept that. And there's also like a cap to how many players you can have in a party. You can change that as well. And then we'll just invite player 3. There we go. Everyone's in the party. And if someone leaves, see, it just takes them out. The others stay. All works great. And I think I did already show this. But if the party leader was to leave, then it would just take everyone out. Yeah. So I'll get into the code now. It's quite complex. As usual, I will have it in the description if you want to just get it like that. Or you can just follow along and get the code like from the tutorial. So yeah, let me get into that. Now, there's only 2 scripts, one for the GUI and one for the actual system itself. So the main chunk of this that you're gonna have to do yourself is the UI. There's quite a few things. So there's a background, there's a invited UI. You can make these however you'd like. Just for the tutorial, I made something quick. So you need a background with a list layout, so that all the new players come down in like a list and it's nice and sorted. And a stroke just to make the UI a bit nicer. Then for the invited one, you just need 2 buttons. That's the most important part. An accepting button and a declining button, and a text label where you'd have the player who invited, the text for that. Then create party button. This one is just a simple button, has some text in it. Leave that disabled though. Everything needs to be disabled except the party. And the final thing, I think the final 2 things actually. Yeah, the searching for a player and the deleting party button. So search for player needs to be a text box. I believe that's what it's called, text box, yeah. And then here you just type out the name. I'll get to the code for that and how it autofills and stuff. And the leave party button is just same thing as the create party button and the actual party button. It's just a button. There's nothing else special about it. And we'll close you. Now I'll get into the UI first. Oh, and you do need to make sure that you have a couple things. So in replicated storage, you need an assets folder for the GUI. This is for the template, and this just has the name of the player. You can add your own thing to this, like if you wanted to show health, if you want to do other things. But for the showcase, it's just a template which has the player's name inside of it. And you want to make sure this is his so we can clone it. And because it has a list layout, it'll fill out nicely for each player. And we also need a remote, party remote, just so we can talk to the server from the local script. And that's basically it for the things you need. And obviously a script in server script service for the actual server side. Now, the UI script, which is in starter player scripts. Open this up. I will zoom in. This is the local side. So we need 2 things at the top. 2 services, players and replicated storage. Then we need the player and the character. Make sure you have the all player or character added weight. This is important. Then we need the player GUI, which is just inside of the player .player GUI. This is just as you have here starter GUI. When you press play or like when you join, it would just be inside of the player, and instead of it being called starter GUI, it would be called player GUI. And from there, we'll get the party GUI, which is inside of it, as you can see there. And then we actually do the button activation. So if you press the party button, which is this one, it will enable some things. So it will enable the search bar, the background, and the create party button. And you could just do is equal to not what it is, so it'll make it invisible or visible depending on what it was previously. Next, you need the search bar thing. I'll actually explain this in a second. I'll quickly just go through the other buttons real quick. So you just do the exact same thing for all the other ones, and just do activated so it works for mobile and PC. And just do the same thing for the accept, decline button, the create party button, and leave button. And inside of here, you just want to fire through the remote. And then curly brackets, this is so it sends through multiple things as parameters. So you just need message 1 to nothing, and message 2 accepted, and so on for the other ones. Just copy what it's like here. The reason we need just a normal message to nothing is because this is only used for this, to send through the player's name that you searched. So we could just leave that blank. And the second one is for what you actually want to fire when you get in here. You'll see what I mean. So yeah, this one needs decline, this one's create party. And you do need to have this, so you can't create a party when you are already in a party. So if null player get attribute partied, this is the attribute that you will have when you create a party or are in a party. Or like when you press accept to join a party. Now let's get to this real quick. So this is the search bar script. So search player, which is the bar, dot focus loss connect function, enter pressed. So this is the key. So when you press enter. So if you press enter, then it will do all of this. And yeah, you can read that there. Fires when the client lets their focus leave the text box. That's kind of what focus lost me. It doesn't explain it very well. Just put focus lost. This is the text for, we create a variable here for the text, and we will just do colon lower to make it lowercase so it's consistent. And if the input text is just nothing, then it will return end. So if you click on the enter box, on the text box, and you just don't type anything, then it will do nothing. It won't just fire to some random player. And here we just loop through every player that's inside of the players service, so everyone inside of the players. And if the player is not equal to player, which in this case player like this is just you, so if the player that you loop through is not equal to you, then it will create a variable for the player name, and it will be equal to the player that you found, lowercase as well, so consistent. And it checks if the player's name sub 1 through the input text is equal to the input text. Then so basically it looks through the player's name, and if the like the characters from the first one to the number of characters that you put in is equal to the input text. So for example, if you have a player called player 1 like we had in the game, and you type in capital P, well, it doesn't matter if it's capital because it makes it lowercase, but if you just type P-L-A, then here it will do P is the first letter, L is the second letter, and A is the third letter. And you only type 3 in, so hashtag input text would be equal to 3 because you typed 3 letters in, and it will check if the first 3 letters which you typed in, P-L-A, are equal to the input text. So, okay, no, all the way around. This is the P-L-A, and here it checks through the player's name to see if the first 3 letters match what you typed in. That's kind of how it works. And here we just turn the text into the player's name for the search player box thing. It just fills out the name basically. Just a small UI thing. It's not really necessary. And here we fire through the remote. And obviously break so that it stops the loop when it finds the player that you were looking for. So here we just fire through in the curly brackets. the player's name for the player that we invited, because this is only used for, this first one here is only used for inviting players. The second one is used for everything else. So yeah, we'll fire through the player's name and then send. Now that's pretty much it for the UI part. This part is like 200 lines, so I'm going to like quickly go through it. Yeah, I'll quickly go through this one, so it will probably get quite confusing. So at the top, the same thing, replicated storage and players. Then you want a variable for the party limit, so however many people you want the limit to be for the party. Then we need quite a few functions here. So one to get the party size, one to update the UI, and one to clear the UI. Oh, and the final one to fix up the UI when someone leaves the game. So if someone's in a party and they leave the game, or if the party leader leaves the game, then it will fix the UI and things. So party size, it will just loop through everyone inside of the players and see if someone has an attribute of partied, which is equal to the party leader's name. So everyone who's got the attribute of the party leader's name means they're in that party. That's how it's set up here. So when you invite someone, they accept, they would get an attribute called partied, and there would be comma the party leader's name. So this just loops through there until it finds the people who have that, and then it will just increase this number for every single person that is in the party to get the amount of people in the party. This is done for the party limit. So if there's too many people, can't invite anymore, and it returns the count. So yeah, that's the number. Update party UI. Now how this the UI thing mainly works is when someone else joins, like when someone else accepts, it loops through everyone inside of the players, and for everyone that's in your party, it will loop through their UI background folder here, because this is where the template is cloned, and it will just delete every single template in here and re-put in a template for every single player. So it will just delete all of them and put them back in, so it's like consistent for every single player, and it's like, otherwise it gets a bit annoying to do. So this is the best way to do it, and that's why every single time you saw that it was still in order, so it went player 1, player 2, player 3, it puts them in order. So yeah, this is basically what this does. It's quite a lot of just loops, so I'll explain it a little bit. So we make a table here for the party members, loops through every player, and if the player's attribute is equal to the party leader, so if you're partied to the party leader, then it will add you to the table, and then for every member, you know, inside of the table, so for everyone in the table you would do all of this. So the player GUI is right, okay, so we would loop through every single player, and this is their UI for each player, and if they have UI, which they hopefully should do, and if they have the party GUI, which they hopefully should do as well, then for every single frame inside of the background, because that's where all the frames get cloned into, it will destroy them, and then after it's all destroyed, it will clone the template for every new player. So for every single player in the party, it will do it again, so it's updated and there's no problems, and it will make the leave button visible, so you can leave the party if you want. Then next function, the clear player UI. This is to just quite similar thing, just destroys every frame, nothing much to it, you can read through it. Then handle player leave, so when the player leaves the game, this just similar thing, loops through every single player inside the players, and if they have the attribute of the player, the party leader's name, which means they're in their party, it will do the clear player UI thing to remove all of their templates inside of the background, and it will also remove their attribute of being partied. So yeah, and this else is just if the party leader is not equal to the player's name, then it will this isn't actually really that needed, I'm gonna be honest. No, this isn't. Don't worry about this. So this is where you get to the second thing. So the parameters is one variable, and you send through two things: message 1 and message, or just message and message 2. So for the send, we check if message 2, which in this case would be Yep, so if message to is send, so for this thing, this is for the search bar. So if message to is send, then it will check if you are partied. So if you're already partied, you can't send anything, and if you're in party and your attribute for partied is not equal to the party leader basically, then it will return. So this means that only the party leader can actually invite people. Then here you get the party leader as a variable, and if the get size for the party leader, so we put party leader here so that this function here, so we can find out how many people are in this party leader's party. So this is why we do the check, and if it's more than or equal to the party limit, then this basically. So yeah, and here we do another loop. So another loop for every player. If the player's name is equal to the parameters.message, so here this is done for this. So if the person you're inviting is equal to the player's name, then it just basically does some UI things. So it adds this. This is for the invite background. So loops through the players, finds the one that's matching the name of the person you invited, and when you find them, the variable here, if they don't have UI, returns end, which hopefully they should do. And here we'll set the attribute invited by. This is done so that you can't re-invite them again for a cooldown. And yeah, as you can see here, if they have the invited by attribute or they are in party, then it will return end. So yeah, this is so you can't spam invite someone. And then it will delay for 10 seconds, and after 10 seconds we'll remove this, and we will also make the UI for the invited background invisible. So you get 10 seconds to decide if you want to join or if you don't. And here we just do party GUI. So this is for the background. Yeah, this is for the actual text itself. So it checks if you have, it checks if you have the background basically, or the party GUI itself, I guess. And then if you do have it, then it will change the text of the invited background over here, the text label. It will change it to the player's name and then invited you to their party. So it's just a little UI thing so you know who invited you to the party. Next, we have the accepted function. Well, not really a function, but accepted message. So similar thing, checks for UI. If you have the UI, cool. If you're not the party leader, then return end. So here we just do another party check for the size. And this video is getting quite long, so I'm gonna kind of speed through this a bit. Set attribute party leader, so you're in the party if you accepted it, and it'll turn the UI for certain things off, the invited background off, and the leave button will be visible now. Then update party UI, which we went through at the top, so it'll refresh the UI for every single player. Then we have the declined one, so it'll just print declined, nothing special to that if you don't want to join the party. One thing you could do here is just make the UI go away if you decline it. I didn't actually add that, but it's not that big of a deal. You could just get the party GUI like this, and then turn the invited background visible to false. I'm not going to add it in now. The video's getting quite long. So final two things: create the party and leave the party. So if you create the party, it will just set the attribute of party to yourself, so you're party to yourself. And here we have the actual UI. We will create the UI only for yourself, since you're the only player, and it will make the leave button visible and update party GUI. So quite simple because of this function. And final thing, when you leave the party, similar thing, party leader as a variable, and it's equal to the player get attribute partied. So we'll just check if you have the attribute partied. So if you're partied, if you're not partied, return end. But we'll just set the attribute partied nil, so they're not in a party. Clear the party, the player UI again, like before. And here we just do another check if the party leader is equal to the player.name. So if you are the party leader, then it'll loop through every single player and remove their UI. If you're not, then it'll only remove it for you. And final thing, when the player is leaving, so player removing connect function, it'll just do this, which is the player leaving function at the top. So when you leave, it'll do all this. But yeah, this is done. And a quick example used for this would be if you have a combat system, how you would implement it is in the part where you have like the hit detection, you would just do a loop, loop through the players, and you would check if anyone is party to you in the same way that you do these loops here. Like, let me see. Let's see, like, yeah, for example, like you loop through the players, and you check if, let's say this one down here. You just check if the member, like the thing that you loop through, has the attribute party and it's equal to you. Then you would return end, and you wouldn't be able to hit that person. That's what you would do if it's like a combat system. Or same thing if you're like doing a teleporter, and you don't have like the teleporter system set up. Teleporter's probably not the best example, but you would just loop through everyone who is partied and teleport every single one. So yeah, that's how this could be used.